your dreams trying to tell you something? Author M.B. Mosley teaches you how to decode your dreams and take hold of the manifestations that lay in wait for you in the waking realm. Now, broadcasting all over the world, it's the Dream Interpretation Podcast.
Welcome, family. Please be reminded that all dreams are not a one-size-fits-all, and that each dream may be similar, but is contingent upon each individual's waking life. I conduct dream interpretations based upon my waking life as it pertains to my journey here on earth. As for the requests that are emailed to me, I do a general interpretation as I do not know the individual's spiritual and personal waking life. I am so excited. Welcome to ZIP, baby, ZIP. ZIP, baby, ZIP. That's DZIP, the Dream Zone Interpretation Podcast. Share this podcast with your loved ones, guys. I'm so excited to continually teach you all on how to do dream interpretations. I want to hear about it. You can email me at askmemory2019@gmail.com. And we are also dropping new episodes every other Wednesdays as we acclimate into this podcast. And the further out we go in the podcast, we're hoping to drop more episodes, and we're hoping to hear from your requests as well. I'm excited for that. So let's get right into it, folks. Drum roll, please. Grab your pens and paper, and 3, 2, 1. Welcome back. Zip, baby, zip. Zip, baby, zip. DZIP, hashtag DZIP. Welcome back, Dream Zone Interpretation Podcast. I am your host, author, and sister friend, M.B. Mosley, also known as Memory Bengessa Mosley. Grand rising to you all. How are you doing today? Kings and queens of the land. How are you doing? Hope this podcast finds you and your family doing well. I'm excited to be back here doing another dream interpretation. And also excited that you all are learning how to decode your dreams. Yay! Electronic high five. All right. So today we are going into the dream interpretation of bees. Bzz. Yes, bees. I had to give you a little sound there for that, for the bees. All right. So this is a very interesting one. Let's get into it. Let us get into it. All right. So bees. All right. So now, here is a fine line. As you learn how to decode your dreams through the Dream Interpretation Podcast, don't forget, I do have these questions that will also help you decode your dreams at the sheet at Get it together, memory. All right, www.memorybengessa.org. Under the blog post, you will be able to find the series of these dream interpretation questions that we utilize here to decode the dreams. Absolutely free. Just go ahead, go on there, copy, paste, however you'd like to do that, and get to decoding your dreams. All right, let's talk about the bees. Bees, baby, bees. All right, so a beautiful insect it is. Trust and believe I'm afraid of most bugs. Of course, I'm going to run when I see a bee too, or a wasp. Like, who wants to get stung, right? Not me. But, so here we go. So bees, what's our first question? What was the dream about? So I say bees. It was about bees. Remember the dream interpretation sheet is morphing. You all is getting fine tuned as the class goes on. And so I wanted to put in a key here that also helps us decode. And right under what the dream is about, which is bees, we have representation. So we also want to write the representation and/theme of bees. And also this part is a little sensitive part with the representation, because I feel like it also goes into your cultural/spiritual beliefs and/or the beliefs that you carry. And I say that because you're going to understand what I'm saying when we get to the cultural spiritual part. But however, representation, bees could be a positive thing. In my country, they view bees as a sign of wealth and prosperity. Okay, so that could be the cultural part of it, right? So if I'm seeing dreams, if I'm seeing bees in my dreams, hello, cha-ching, wealth and prosperity, honey. But okay, I digress. We still got to break it down. So representation can be well slash positive, and don't dwell too much about. Oh my gosh, I don't have any cultural meaning to it, or I don't have a spiritual meaning. Don't dwell too much into it because the main theme is what it is about, bees, right? So you can always take the bees and say to yourself what they mean to you as an individual in the waking life. I don't like them. I don't like them at all. So that can also help you decode your dream. Oh, I love bees. Oh, I feel neutral about bees. Oh, bees are, becoming slowly extinct per experts. However, we should, preserve. Oh, you get what I'm saying. You depict how you feel about bees in your waking life if there's no cultural or spiritual belief to that. So it's okay. That could be your representation because this is you decoding your dream. All right. So let's carry on. So now the next question is, what type of energy are you feeling the instant you wake up? So what type of energy was I feeling the instant I woke up from the bee's dream? I felt warm, felt at ease. As a person that generally doesn't like bugs, bees are okay. Like I said, I run from them so I don't get stung. But I felt okay. Now, if I dream about a moth or something like that, I don't know. I won't feel okay. Now, if I had a dream about a praying mantis, that's I'm sorry if we have any bug lovers out here, but I don't know. The praying mantis literally sends goosebumps down my spine. I don't know, something about that. And chameleons. And it's so weird because as a young girl, I grew up seeing chameleons all up and down the tree. Never thought twice about it, but it was weird. And you know what? I think it also has a lot to do with the culture because, my cousin, the people that put a lot of fear in my life that I'm still working on at this age. But, when we were younger, would see the chameleons, right? It's a beautiful creature. It changes colors. But here's the thing. That's what they would say to me. I'm older. I should know better now. But still, it's kind of like, no, what if there's that element of truth to it? But listen, so they would say the chameleon steals your color. So I'm like, who wants to be close to a chameleon? We'll see it from afar. OMG, chameleon, turn around. Let's go play somewhere else. But the thing was that's what they say. They say it stole our color. But in reality, it mimics the colors that we wear. But they made it seem like it's the witch's bug and it steals your color. And then they will say, don't go close to the chameleon because if it jumps on you, it won't come off. They'll need razors. Fear tactics. Do you understand why I'm traumatized up to this day? Okay, thank you very much. But like I said, it's a beautiful creature. But thing. It's a beautiful creature. However, my cousins did it, and growing up, people did their fair share. It was so crazy. And then I remember there was a beautiful, when I remember it now, it was a weird grasshopper. I wrote about it in my fantasy book, but this grasshopper was huge. Okay. Yeah, we had huge grasshoppers, and that's how the thing. I don't like grasshoppers to this day because this particular grasshopper was called a Wizamuroi. Now, Wizamuroi means the witch's grasshopper, and because this particular grasshopper was very unique, like it had a rainbow colors. When I look at it now as an adult in my mind, it was a beautiful grasshopper. But as a kid, I was like, oh my God, Wizamuroi, run away, the witches are close. You leave it up to my culture. Most things are just witch related, don't look at the owl, witches. Those are witches' eyes. But, true story. But so every time we saw the Wizamuroi, which was a very beautiful, colorful grasshopper, it had like the green, the red, it was just colorful. It was like a rainbow. It was beautiful, but you only saw it once in a blue moon. So therefore, as a kid, you believe that belongs to the witch because every other grasshopper is like boring brown, green color, whatevs, So anyways, I digress. That's my little background story with my relationship with the beautiful creatures here on this planet. However, let's talk about bees. I don't feel too bad about bees. As long as if I could run away, I'm fine. Just don't want to get stung. All right. So other than liking the honey they make, that too. All right. So representation of bees is wealth, and it could be a positive thing. Once again, now, unless in your waking life, the representation is you're allergic to a bee sting, like that's deadly for some people, or you don't like bees, or they don't represent anything positive to you, perhaps like me, childhood traumas, part of it, or just, just a lot of factors. So that could change the representation as it pertains to your waking life as well. So take that into consideration. So we had said, what type of energy was I feeling the instant that I woke up? It's very important to capture that energy because it tells you a lot more about that dream. And so feeling really good about yourself. So it really sets the tone as into decoding your dream as well. So, all right. So we distinguished that the type of energy right instantly after waking up was warm and at ease. And so the next question we want to find out is, what type of energy was I feeling in the dream? I felt good. I really did. I felt good. I wasn't, scared. I wasn't nervous. I felt good. I was just real chill. Just felt real good. All right. So now we want to look at the next question. What are your cultural and or spiritual beliefs behind the dream, right? So we could take this and pair it up with representation as well. So just as I stated at the top here of the podcast, the cultural beliefs for me in this part is that we believe that bees are a sign of wealth and prosperity. And so once again, if there is no cultural spiritual belief, don't be hard on yourself. Think about how that type of theme, whether it's bees, locusts, whether it's caterpillars, whatever it is, think about how it makes you feel in your waking life, and you could go from there as well. So now let's go down to list everything that I saw in the dream. So I was looking at the bees swarming around a hive. It was a real quick dream. It was, of course, tons and tons. The bees were swarming around a hive. Not one bee came towards me at all. And so the next question is, where are you in the dream, and or what are you doing? I was an observer. I was an observer in the dream, just watching the bees doing their thing. All right. And the next set of questions is, what colors and or numbers do I see in the dream, if any? So what I witnessed was the greenness of the tree. It was really green, weird, typically because you have a bark or something like that that's brown, but it was just the greenness of the tree that caught my attention there as the observer, as I watched the bees doing their thing with the hive there. All right, so let's move on to the next question. How does the color meaning fit in with the waking life, right? So the color green, when you look at spiritual meaning of color green or color green meaning, symbolism, the color, and remember, I will always say this because just if we have a new student to the Dream Interpretation podcast and haven't heard the other podcasts, remember that when it comes to symbolisms, but when it comes to symbolism, sometimes it has more than one symbolism, whether it be a number and or a color. The best advice is to pick the symbolism that pertains to your waking life. And so now, how does the color meaning fit in with the waking life? So the color green represents prosperity and growth, which was really kind of eerie because in our culture, we believe bees are a sign of wealth and prosperity. And so the greenness that I saw around that tree could also represent prosperity and growth. Now, let's go in, and we have another question here. So now I have to write the paragraph, write everything you listed above into a sentence or a paragraph as it pertains to my current waking life. All right, so at the time that I received this, I was still living at the house. If you've heard the other podcast, a little bit about the situation there with the house. and the mortgage around the early 2008s there. And so 2009s, whatevs. And so around the time that this dream manifested itself, it was all in the midst of my house and what I was going to do about the situation. And so I have to look at everything within that dream. The hive can also represent a home, right? It represents a home for bees. So the hive can represent a home. And so in hindsight, when I look at this, it says, as I was going to leave my home, because that felt like the final outcome. As I was going to leave my home and find myself in a much better place, prospering and growing and striving along on a positive path. So that was the message from the spiritual dream realm within the midst of that chaotic energy in the background of the quandary of the house and the debacle with the loan companies. I found myself with this dream providing comfort and peace to me as well, and just confirming and reaffirming just like that, guys, with the hive representing the home. And that but unbeknownst to me in that moment, even with that dream, it's not like you wake up and you figure, oh, okay, I'm going to be fine. But you just realize there's a lot going on behind till life itself starts to manifest. The dream itself starts to also manifest. And I'm going to share a little eerie part. And before I share a little eerie story with you, I call it eerie, but some may call that a omen or of sorts. And so, but let's dive deeper, because sometimes it's crucial to dive deeper or to dig deeper, I should say, to the part where, right, the color green represents prosperity and growth, and the culture meaning or representation of bees, if for me, would have been the wealth and prosperity. And so most times when we hear wealth and prosperity, we're like, cha-ching. I was messing with you at the top of the podcast, but we think cha-ching, right? Yeah. We think cha-ching, which is okay because it could be cha-ching, right? But remember also that wealth and prosperity don't necessarily just represent a super abundance in money alone, right? You could prosper in a lot of ways than cha-ching. We can be wealthy in a lot of ways. Your soul, your spirit could be wealthy. You could be prosperous within your spirit and your soul. Right? So, and there's so many different meanings between prosperity and wealth. I understand that in Western cultures, when we think of wealth, we equate it with money. However, it could be an abundance of all that is around, right? And so that's the other thing that I just wanted to make mention of. And so let's look at, I like to also pull up meaning. So prosperity usually means the type of success that comes from having a lot of money, which we discovered here's in most times in the West. Our modern English word derives from Middle English prosperate, borrowed through Old French with Latin prosperous, favorable. Okay, favorable. The Latin word also means fortune, and the word prosperity does have an element of good luck. So now you kind of understand, right? So that's why it's also important to dig deeper, because I don't want anyone to think, well, I had a similar dream meaning, or bees, I had bees, and so I'm still not prosperous. Where's my money? I'm trying to just dig deeper with you all. When leaving that situation for me, the hardest thing in my life, one of the hardest things in my life, I should say, and having to kind of move forward from all that stuff that had happened, I did then afterwards was at peace. My spirit, my soul, I was at peace. I wrote more than I'd ever written before. I'm collecting my catalog as well. However, you can see my books on www.memorybeenguesser.org or www.fortheculturebooks.weebly.com. I digress. But however, so at that time, I was really more into my spiritual health. I was feeding my soul. I was taking prolonged fasts, and I was really in a good space. I was definitely in a good space. So I just wanted to highlight that part, that the sensitive nature of dream decoding sometimes comes with the fact of us wanting and needing to dig deeper and to get the relevancy of each decoded message. All right, so story time. All right, and so I'm about to creep you guys out a little bit. So check this out. But sometimes you will also come to find out within the Advent itself from the spiritual dream realm. Sometimes you will have dreams that will manifest themselves like the next day or within just a couple of days or and so forth. And that may send goosebumps up and down your spine. However, it's just a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. But here's the thing. So probably like under a week or so, because it was really recent, it was a new subdivision. So they had planted a tree, and the tree was probably about, I want to say maybe like 6 feet tall. It was still growing. It was like a teenage tree. It was still growing. It had little leaves and so forth, but it was a little tree. It was still growing. And so I came home one time. It was during the afternoon. I'll never forget it. And I was pulling up into my driveway. That tree was close to the mailbox. And right by, I wish I could just, it was a small tree, but the whole entire tree was just cocooned by a swarm of bees. I'm kidding you not. I freaked out. I panicked because I mean, from nowhere, I don't know how nature does it, but this tree had been over here for a long time. And just this moment I come home and it's just swarmed with bees. Like I thought maybe you start off with one or two and then you're like, okay, there they go. They're starting to build something over there. But it was just bees. I freaked out. I was so nervous because it was so close to the mailbox. I didn't want the mail person to get stung, sue me, you know what I'm saying. So I had to call the landscaping company to come out that day and to help. And so I remember they came and I went and hid because they were going to light something around it and do smoke and do all kinds of stuff, whatever. They did what they had to do, but the bees came back a day or two. Right? So I feel bad. Tree lovers, don't judge me for this part. So I was a little bit annoyed, not even seeing the message from it, like not even connecting the dots. I called them back up, the landscape company. I said, come back and just take this tree up out of its roots. It was a baby tree. Not baby, but it was like a teenager tree. You know, it was not yet big. But still, I said, come and deroot it. Just take it out the roots. Like, I'm done with this. Like, we treated it, did everything. They left and the bees left. And then, like, not even a day later, they were back just thick. And yet I'm missing everything about it. But I was a little bit nervous only because, that time it's just every moving piece is just moving. And I'm just like thinking, we don't want the mail person to get stung. We want them to do their job. Put my mail in my mailbox because it was so close to the mailbox. I just didn't want anything bad to happen. But that was the story, and I'm also debating on one day perhaps I put a note down about that. I think it'll be cool to kind of recap and talk to you all about some of the dreams that manifested like immediately the next day. I've talked about one, but just as they are. So it's all an interesting thing. Allow yourself to be open-minded to those possibilities as well. All right, with that, just remember to be conscious of the spiritual dream realm, for it comes to bring us messages of our waking state. And remember, like and any other thing here, we are spiritual human beings having a spiritual journey here on earth to learn lessons that may guide us into our next. However, as we are here to learn lessons, the beauty of it is to enjoy this moment, seize the moment as we go through this journey. However, always pay attention to your spiritual dream realm, for messages come there. As spiritual beings, we are being fed spiritually with spiritual messages, for nothing happens in our waking life that we have not yet seen in the spiritual dream realm. Sometimes though it may seem that we didn't know it was coming, but let's be optimistic and let's be open-minded, because sometimes it doesn't show itself up in the ways we would expect it to show up. But be open-minded and expecting to always have revelations from the spiritual dream realm. I love you guys that much. Stay blessed.
For God speaks in one way and or in two, though man does not perceive it. He speaks in a dream, in a vision of the night, when deep sleep falls on men while they slumber on their beds. Happy dreaming.